Hey, good morning from beautiful downtown Blue Ridge, Georgia. Yes, right behind me is a nice, small mountain, North Georgia mountain town. Now, I'm your host, BKP, and the sounds you will hear throughout the show in the next 2 hours, we call it Small Town America starting up. You'll see the garbage truck. Budweiser has decided, Budweiser figured out there's a camera here, so they do their own commercial right here about 9 o'clock, right, Amanda? They figured out, so the Budweiser truck will stop here about 9. You'll see that. We'll hear construction in the background. So it's a live show with a lot of little extra noises, but we enjoy it. We're at Sycamore Crossing. I'm your host, BKP. It is Fetch Football Friday. Now, we're going to give you our lineup here, but Fetch Football Friday, your Fan and Rebels are off tonight. But the Gilmer Bobcats are traveling down to take on the Pickens Dragons. The Lumpkin Indians are headed over to take on to Dawson County to take on the Tigers, and I'll be at that game tonight. Follow us there. We'll tell you a little more about that later. I'm going over to watch Dawson and Lumpkin tonight. And the Union Panthers are hosting Putnam County right up here in Blairsville. So in about 5 minutes, we'll have Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley. And at 8:35, our all-star political panel with Jane, Rick, and Candace will be here with us. Bruce is traveling today. And let's see, at 9:35, North Georgia Senior Living with Jesse Barton, the Community Relations Director from Cameron Hall. And we always round out our week with the Pet of the Week, the star of the show from the Humane Society of Blue Ridge. Now, we're going to get Dr. Whaley in here in about 5 minutes. Okay. Let's see. Do we have anything to talk about on the All-Star Political Panel? I think we do. Okay. This lady, what is her name again? Christine Blasey Ford. Well, this could really get me in trouble, but we have to hear a woman out. That's the story of our life, right? So it's determined we have to hear her story. We have to hear her story of 36 years ago when her and her friends from a private all-girls school snuck out and met some boys, spiked the punch, and something they feel inappropriate happened. Our government must shut down. Our government must not go forward one more minute without hearing this woman's accusations. That's what they want to do. That's Brett Kavanaugh. What say you? Now, I want to say something. We're going to talk about this on the All-Star panel when we get at 8:35 and I get everybody here. I just wish people would focus on the Supreme Court, our founding fathers. The Supreme Court is the third branch of government so many times. And it's not just the Supreme Court, okay? It's your district court. How that's made up is you have a district court, federal district court. Then you have an appeals court, federal appeals court, which is like you've heard of the 9th Circuit, the 11th Circuit. There's 11 circuits in the appeals process, in its circuits, which have the district and appeals court in it, and then you have the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, the separation of powers is a check and balance system. And I don't think the founding fathers intended at any time for the Senate to run this country. Every day we hear how Donald Trump is a dictator. Pay attention to what the Senate is doing. The House of Representatives are passing hundreds of bills and moving them over hundreds and moving them over to the Senate where they are laying there and there's no action. And the Senate stalls everything. And then on top of that, the Supreme Court, the Senate was never intended by the founding fathers to make the third branch of government, to be in control of the third branch of government, the Supreme Court. They never intended for it to be a 4-4 court or this chaos to go on. It has to stop. So supposedly she will come testify if the 11 white guys, the 11, she doesn't want a female attorney to question her. Because the House, the committee, which is 11 to 10, 11 Republicans, and the Republicans, all 11, are white guys. We don't want the white guys making a decision here for us on the Supreme Court. We don't want white guys, 11 white guys, and later down in history, if the Supreme Court overturns certain parts of Roe v. Wade, we don't want to have history write it to where it was 11 white guys that let it happen. But no, the Democrats, there's nothing credible, nothing, zip, zero, zilch, about what this woman and the Democrats are doing, because if there was, she would not care. But she doesn't want a woman questioning her. She wants the optics of the 11 white guys. And she wants Brett Kavanaugh to go first. They want to turn this whole judicial balance around in this country, because in America, okay, you have the right to defend yourself against your accuser. So you never go first in court. So Brett Kavanaugh, if this was court or anything, would not go first. She is the accuser. You have your right to defend yourself in America. But no, they want to rewrite the rules. But we got a lot more to say on this at the All-Star panel at 8:35. It's time to go to break and get Dr. Whaley in here. But before we do, Mom, happy birthday. Okay? I told you to click and tune in. I don't know if you did, but happy birthday. I hope you have a nice day. I'm your host, BKP. We're at Sycamore Crossing. We'll be back right after this with Ask the Doc.